God's provision doesn't rely on your abundance. It begins in your scarcity. Even when it feels like you don't have enough, Jesus invites you to trust Him with the little you have. Miracles begin when we stop focusing on what we lack and start placing it in the hands of the one who multiplies. Jesus feeds the 5,000. God's provision in scarcity. The sun was high, and the crowd had been following Jesus for hours. Some all day. Children clung to their mothers, tired and hungry. Men leaned on walking sticks. Women wiped sweat from their brows. Still, no one left, because Jesus was speaking, and His words were unlike anything they had heard before. Words that gave hope, words that breathed life. But there was a problem: no food. The disciples started to worry. "Master," they said, "send the people away so they can go into the villages and buy food for themselves." They were tired, they were hungry, and they didn't see a solution. But Jesus looked out at the crowd. 5,000 men, not counting women and children, and replied, "You give them something to eat." They were stunned. Philip did the math. 8 months' wages wouldn't buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. Scarcity, hopelessness, limitations. But that's never where Jesus ends a story. Andrew, one of the disciples, said hesitantly, "There's a boy here. He has 5 loaves and 2 small fish. But what is that for so many?" It sounded absurd, laughable, even. But Jesus simply said, "Bring them to me." He had the crowd sit on the grass. He took the bread and the fish, looked up to heaven, gave thanks, and began to break them, and break them, and break them, until every single person ate, not just a little but as much as they wanted. When everyone was full, Jesus told the disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted." They filled 12 baskets, more than what they started with. That's the kind of God we serve. Not just enough abundance, not just barely getting by, but overflowing. This story isn't just about food. It's about trusting God when we don't have enough, when your paycheck runs out before the month does, when your strength feels too small for what life is demanding, when your faith feels weak and stretched thin. Jesus says, "Bring me what little you have." It might be $5. It might be 5 minutes. It might be 5 loaves and 2 fish. Whatever it is, He can multiply it. The boy gave his small lunch. He didn't wait for a better time. He didn't hide it in fear. He gave it as it was. Small, simple, humble, and Jesus used it to feed thousands. In seasons of lack, God doesn't expect perfection. He just asks for willingness. When we trust Him with a little, He turns it into more than enough.